Why are you even doing this? Like, do you know why you are even reselling in the first place? You gotta ask yourself this question. If you understand this, it will define the difference between your success or not, right? You need to know your why. And if you know your why, it's also going to allow yourself to grow. It's going to allow yourself to actually move forward and make the necessary steps to grow your reselling business. But actually, this isn't even about reselling or eBay. This is actually about anything in life, but reselling in particular, because that's what we're here to talk about. Now, if you are new here, hey, how you doing? My name's Chris, and I'm building a business that suits my lifestyle. And the big question I'm asking you today is, why are you even doing this? Why are you even reselling? And the first thing I want to call out, because there's a lot of it, and I'll put my hand up and say, hey, look, I could be part of the problem for you. I'm a reseller. I sell on eBay full time, and I document this on YouTube. And it's very easy to watch someone else and do a copy and paste of what someone else is doing. But if you're doing this, you're setting yourself up to fail. And you got to make sure, bringing it back to the question of this video, of why are you even doing this in the first place? Are you doing it because you have a need? Is it because you need money? Is it because you have a dream? Is it because you just want a hobby? The other thing you need to consider is, like, is that dream, if it is a dream, is it a dream or is it a fad? Is it just like a trend? Are you just trying to fit in? Or is it this idea that someone else has sold to you that isn't really your dream at all? The other thing is, have you been sold a fairy tale? Now, I try to be open and transparent as possible, but just because the way I'm doing it might look good, it might look bad, or it doesn't meet your result that you would like, or it doesn't fit your lifestyle, or it doesn't match your expectation, then that's fine too. That's why it's actually super important that you follow what works for you. But there's no point doing any of this if you cannot answer the question of why are you even doing this in the first place. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So there's probably a few reasons why you are possibly reselling. Number one is it's for a long-term business. Now, that's what I'm doing. I'm building a business to suit my lifestyle, and that's going to be a long-term thing. And we'll talk about that briefly in a minute. But number two is maybe you're just trying to flip for some hustle money, right? Like you want to go on a holiday at the end of the year or something like that. But sometimes it's just like you like to have that little bit of side hustle cash. And, there's nothing wrong with earning a little bit of extra dollars, especially in the times that it is right now. The other reason, maybe it's a hobby. It's just something you like to do in your spare time, see what you can make out of it and have some fun. Or maybe you're doing it with your kids, or maybe you're doing it with your partner, or whatever. It's just a hobby. The other one is kind of like what I said before, is you're saving for a project, or you're saving for a holiday, or you're trying to use that money to leverage it for something else. Great way to use reselling, great way to sell on eBay. And maybe the other one is you have this idea that it's going to change your life. Now, look, to be frank, all of these are great reasons and great whys, but also all these are going to require a number of different expectations in terms of the effort and action that you're going to have to put in. Now, for me, I'm building a business that suits my lifestyle. As I said at the start of this video, what that looks like is going to look very different to everyone else. For me, in 2024, I've done over $280,000 in revenue, and that's paying 3 staff and myself. That's probably 90% of that was done on eBay. The rest of it was through wholesale or at markets, or just through other sales off eBay. But for me, I'm trying to create something that is going to be long lasting and bigger than myself. Something that doesn't require me to be the bottleneck within the business. I've been building this business for the last 4 years. I'm starting year 5 in 2025, which is very exciting. But I'm not here to talk about my journey. If you want to go watch my videos, how I'm building my business, what that looks like, you can go do so. But what I want to ask you is, what about you? Like, why are you doing this, right? And if you now know why you're doing this, if we've gone through the top there and you understand why you are reselling in the first place, the next thing that I want to challenge you on is like, okay, now that you know why, how are your actions speaking for yourself? And what I mean by this is, does your actions actually align to the reason why you're reselling? And the best way to look at this is kind of putting together the reps and the inputs that you are doing to see the results. Now, if you want to earn $10,000 in profit next year to, go on a holiday to somewhere, or maybe you want to buy a new car, maybe you're paying for your kids' school fees. I don't know. Like, there's going to be hundreds of different reasons of what you're trying to achieve. That's going to look different for everyone. But getting to that point, you're going to have to know how much effort is that going to take. I mean, you could buy one item for $1,000, sell it for $15,000 and potentially profit $10,000, right? You don't have to sell a lot. So the perspective there is very different for everyone. If you're just trying to flip, flip some items for some cash, you don't have a lot of overheads. You're not going to necessarily going to have to be tying up your money in, operating expenses like myself. And that gives you an advantage. So all these different things are going to have really different ways on how you will operate, how you can take action, and the things that you're going to do to actually succeed. If you're saving for a holiday, you will need a bit of a plan of what that's going to look like, right? But the moral of the story is building a business, whether it's big, whether it's small, whether it's micro, it's going to require a whole bunch of different things. And number one is you're going to have to be willing to take risks. You're going to have to take a risk buying your first item to sell it, right? If you buy an item thinking that you can buy it for $5, $10, $15, $20 and flip it for $50, $100, $150, you're taking a risk. You're taking a gamble, right? So you got to be willing to, one, take a risk. You have to be willing to think beyond yourself. You have to be willing to invest your time. You have to be willing to invest your money. You have to be willing to go the slow race. These things take time. It's not a quick, rich scheme. It's not going to happen overnight. Sure, you could sell an item overnight, but to get to the results that you want is going to require you putting in that work. It's not an overnight success. You also need to understand, what does long-term look like? Now, long-term might actually be just the end of the year goal, right? What are you doing today that's going to get you to where you want to be for your $10,000 goal or $20,000 goal, or building a business that's going to stand for 10 years or whatever it is? What are you doing to make sure that that's happening? And the other question you should ask yourself, now that you know why you're doing this, is what does success look like for you? I'm not going to define it for you. There's plenty of other people that are, being successful on YouTube, documenting their reselling journeys. But again, that's not your success. What does success look like for you? You need to put that on paper or in front of you and write it down and understand, what does success look like for you? The other thing we should then be asking ourselves, if we understand our why, if we understand, what's it going to take, and we understand that the effort required, you need to be asking yourself, are you happy doing this? Are you happy with this? If you know your why and you understand your action, the most important thing then is, are you happy? Because if you're not happy, you're not going to enjoy this. And if you're not enjoying this, you're not going to be able to get through when it gets tough, right? You want to be able to stay positive, stay motivated, have momentum, and be, on the push when things get thick, all right? Will you thrive through the thick, or will you give up? Are you happy to continue? Are you happy to adapt? Are you happy to adjust? Are you happy to pivot? These are all the big questions you need to think about. Now, you might say yes, but until you get into those moments, you're going to really start to question, is this something worth it or not, right? And it's okay to say no, but you got to be willing to have that conversation with yourself, and don't shoot yourself in the foot and go into denial, because I'm building something that I know is going to be long lasting. It's going to take a lot of risk, a lot of effort, a lot of pivoting, a lot of adjusting, a lot of trial and error. I'm willing to sacrifice and risk that. But there will come a time where if things aren't meeting the things that I want, then I'm going to have to, again, make another change. I'm going to have to continue to refine it and make it better. And you need to do the same, because if you're not happy, then don't do something that doesn't bring you joy. So if you know your why, if you know the action that is required, and then if you are happy, then sure, this is right for you. This is great for you. This is going to be an exciting journey for you. The beauty of all this, though, is it does not just apply to reselling. As I said at the start of the video, it applies to anything in life. It applies to building any business. It applies to a better version of yourself. It applies to a hobby. It applies to your projects. It applies to your work. It applies to your relationships, to your family, to your loved ones, all these great things, right? And, I talk about this all the time on my podcast, Further Your Lifestyle, because at the end of the day, if you're happy at home, if you're happy as an individual, and if you're thriving as an individual, where you go put the outputs of the rest of your energy are going to thrive too. And it's vice versa. If you're thriving in areas where you're working, where you're spending your time, it means you're going to be more happier when you're back at home, or when you're doing your personal things, or spending your time with your loved ones. That's just the way it works. That fine balance really does make a difference. So you got to focus on, yeah, understanding the whys, the actions, and all those different things. But are you happy, and does this bring you joy? So the next time you see others doing something, including myself, on the internet, and it looks flashy, or it looks exciting, or it looks like you want that, make sure you understand what it is behind that, and how that comes to being, and how that is required, or what is required to make that happen. Make sure you check yourself before you wreck yourself, because you can go think you're going to be able to do what other people are doing. And it's the same for me. People have commented, people have messaged me saying, oh, I wish I could do you. I wish I could do the same as you. I want to go get a storage unit. Can you give me some advice? And my advice is, if you're doing this, do it on your own journey. Do it with your own, at your own speed, at your own race. Don't just think that doing it the way someone else does it is going to get you the results you exactly expect. Look, sometimes you can take from other people, you can learn from their lessons, you can take their models, but apply your way of doing things to it to make it better, to make it work for you. If everyone was doing exactly the same thing, it would be easy, right? And it probably actually wouldn't be worthwhile for everyone, because it would be so saturated of copy and paste that there would not actually be any competition. There would not actually be anyone that's able to take advantage. And it's not about that, oh, well, why can people take advantage? But if you want to thrive in business, we're talking back to business now, you need to have an edge of why customers are coming to you. Because if customers are going to everyone else and you, well, you're only getting a small piece of the pie. So you have to bring what is your element, what is your game, what can you offer to your customers, whether it's a price, whether it's a quality, whether it's a value point, whether it's an experience, whatever it may be. And that's why people will come to you. So all these great things, they take time, right? It does take time. And if you're willing to take the time, then you will be great. You will have an amazing experience doing so. So let's recap, and let's ask you that same question one more time. Why are you even doing this? If you understand why you're doing it, and if you understand the work required to do this, to get to where you want to be, whether it's a long-term business, whether it's paying for a holiday, buying a car, or maybe it's just to have a little bit of fun on the side and earn an extra $100 a week, maybe, right? If you understand that and the why, then that's great. But then the big question is, are you happy doing this? And if so, make sure you're not copy and pasting anyone else, but you're learning from other people's perspectives, ideas, even this kind of conversation, watching other people doing their, pickups from thrift shops or from garage sales or wherever it may be. It's all great information. But again, take it, understand it, apply it to why you're doing it. Is it going to make you happy? And then just run with it and do the work. That's as simple as it is. Do the work. Appreciate being here. If you enjoyed this kind of content, jump down below, hit subscribe. And if you did enjoy it, also hit like as well. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to continue the conversation, you can leave a comment. You can ask a question. More than happy to, get back to you as soon as possible. Sometimes I include those comments into videos. Otherwise, I'll answer every single comment that does get put down there. Really do appreciate you being here. Wishing you the best going forward. And we'll be back here again soon enough. So appreciate you. You have a wonderful day. Cheers.